expenditure, someone that does good forecasting, and also to have the entire business model, the idea into your hands, so that you can be able to plan properly towards both you forecast towards expenditure, you forecast towards space, you forecast towards even income. So that's one of my major takeaway from the last lecture. Thank you.
That was quite impressive. Thank you very much for that excellent takeaway. So I'll call on Adaura Benemo. Please, can we have your key takeaway from the last class? Thank you. Adora Benemo, are you there? Okay, since Adora Benemo is not in class, I'll call Adora, are you there? Okay, next I'll call on Nasiru Garuba. Please, can we have your key takeaway from the last class? Nasiru Garuba, your key takeaway from the last class. Okay, it seems Nasiru Garuba is also not in class. Please, we encourage that you participate in class activities like this. This will also enhance your learning experience while you are in the program. It's very important that you have key takeaways from each of the class sessions. Okay, let me call on Grace Aguero. Please, can we have your key takeaway from the last class? Thank you.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so in the last class, we learned about strategic facility planning. And for me, the key takeaway was that if I was going to, as an FM, if I'm going to play at the top, I'll need to be strategic. I'll need to understand why the business exists in the first place. I'll need to see myself actually as a team player in the sense that I'll need to see myself as part of the organization and not an outsider. I'll need to understand why the business exists, for what reasons, who are the customers, what exactly is the goal, what is the vision, what are the objectives of the company for me to be able to serve my purpose in that company. Another thing I learned is that going to work, I'm not coming to work as others come to work. I'm coming to work because of them. I'm resuming my place of work because of the other people that are in that space. That is why I am in that space. So if I'm going to play at the top, I'll need to start thinking like an executive, like a manager, like a top person in the company. Why exactly? I will need to answer the question why the company exists to enable me to achieve that. Thank you.
Excellent key takeaway. I think this is well taken. I really like the fact that to the strategic points that are required of us as facility managers. Okay, I think I will be able to take at least 2 or 3 more takeaways before the facilitator for today will comment. Okay, I'll call on Abayomi Ibinaye. Please, can we have your key takeaway from the last class? Abayomi Ibinaye, thank you.
Good afternoon, class, and good afternoon to everyone.
Yeah, good evening, welcome.
Oh, sorry, okay. My own takeaway from the last class is that I must be able to learn how to draw out my own vision and purpose from
Okay, thank you very
Am I
much, Mr. Yes, we got that. Thank you
okay?
very much. That was
All
quite
right.
impressive. Thank you so much. I think you can just take one more. I think that should be from a female. Let me call on. Okay, Sekinat. Please, can we have your takeaway? Please, Sekinat Saliu. Can we have your key takeaway from the last class? What you learned from the last class? Okay, since Sekinat is not in class, so I'll call on Harrison Hayes. Please, can we have your key takeaway from the last class?
Good evening, class.
Yeah, good evening.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you clearly.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. From the last strategy plan lectures, my own takeaway comes from the area of I've come across tactical, strategic tactical plans and operational plans, but I never really pay a key attention to it. But I was able to differentiate between the operational plan and the strategic tactical plan. So thank you. Hello.
Yes, we got that. Thank you very much, Mr. Harrison, for that key takeaway. I think at this junction, I would like to hand over the mic now to the facilitator, the person of architects, OCBIA. Over to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good evening all. Good to be in class again this evening, like as was mentioned. My name is OCBIA here, and we'll be running through this right together this week. Just a quick in the dressing, I'll please ask that all participants put on their names, their proper names on their profiles, so we can know those who are exactly in class. I see a few persons that have numbers just on their profile. If that's not done, and the admin will probably take those people out of the class. And I'm seeing some persons that the names is just showing as their phone. Please let's address this quickly so that admin doesn't log you out of the class, because we need to identify those that are present in class, because attendance is taken accordingly. Thank you very much. Just a quick window dressing for all that. The course we shall be looking at today, we'll be looking at space planning and move management. Space planning and move management. I hope you can hear me.
Please increase your volume, sir. We are not hearing you. It's as though you're using hands free and it's very low.
Oh, I'll try and work on it. I hope it's better now.
Please.
I hope it's better now.
Okay. Still the same.
Sorry, just give me a moment to try and pop up my.
It's better now.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, like I was saying, we'll be looking at management and space planning and move management. Sorry, my video is off because of my network, so that you can hear me clearly. I'll just let's just manage to, so that I can hear you can hear us clearly. For those of us that attended the orientation class, able to go through that. So we'll be looking at the course under the various outlines. We'll be looking at the introduction. We'll look for space planning. We'll look at space planning processes. We'll look at space allocation options, move management, and key consideration before the move and then conclusion. By way of introduction, the way is planned always determine its use and its purpose. Because I know more about that. Every space has use, and the function of that space is informs the way the spaces are planned and configured. It is important that the facility knows the basic requirements for different spaces as it relates to its use. The efficient and effective way the space is used is key to for a facility manager as it helps him or her to know if a space is fully utilized. Yes. Um, if peradventure you go into an empty space, for those of us that are familiar with that have moved apartment from, or you have interacted with estate agents when you are looking for to move into, or you help somebody, or you're just involved in search for a property. Most often than not, when you get into, if you take a residential property, for example, once you get into the residential space, most often than not, you almost know the kind of spaces that you walk into. Nobody needs to tell you that, oh, peradventure, this is the kitchen, this is the bathrooms, this is the living room, this is dining area, and you know this because of the way the spaces are configured and the way the spaces are actually arranged. You may probably, even without being told, you will always know where the master's bedroom is, and then you'll be able to maneuver and know exactly what to do around this area. This is key because knowing the use of each space enables you as a facility manager to be able to manage the space. You know the function of the space and know what the space is supposed to do to interact with those that are going to be using the space. So you know exactly what the space is expected. We have different kind of buildings which probably you'd have seen, and the different uses of the building actually determine how the space interacts with the owners of the building. So it actually helps you as a facility manager to know where your focus
Hello,
is.
sir. Hello. Architect Ose.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. I just getting feedback now that your audio is low. Seems maybe you can try to work on that.
Okay. I'm pumping that up. You can hear me anyway. I don't know why it's sounding low. But try. Maybe I'll probably just use another device. Just give me a minute then. Sorry, just give me a minute. Let me try and work on another connection for this so that you could hear me better, please.
I can't get an audio, please.
Hello, okay, can you hear me?
There's an echo.
What about now?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, great. Like I was saying, for those of us that were able to connect initially, or let me just go back to what it's. I said the way a space is configured determines its use, and if you go into any space, as it were, you will be able to if you go into any space, you will be able to know its use when you go into a space. Like I'm trying to mention that if you go into an open space where you want to rent a residential apartment, you will probably just know where the rooms are. You will know where the general spaces are, and then you'll be able to manage through. You know exactly where the kitchenettes are, and know where other things within the facility would be. You know where the toilet is, and you know what the function of those spaces are. Um, in most of our new generation offices, flexibility is becoming a key requirement as organizations are continually changing the way that they work. The facility manager needs to become familiar with the way organizations is moving, and then ask him or herself the following questions. One of the things that a few of you said during the take home is knowing exactly how the facility manager can get ingrained in the work that they are doing and understand what the needs of their organization is. This is also another part where you need to use that. You need to understand how the organization is moving and what the organization is doing, and then you'll be able to ask yourself the following questions from time to time. Probably we will always advise that you do this exercise twice a year. You ask yourself the following questions. One, is this present space well utilized? Do we need to increase or reduce the amount of space being used by the office at this point in time? That means that you need to always do that analysis and ask yourself that question. If peradventure the office space is becoming too large, how does an office space become too large? An office space becomes quite large if at any point in time the space becomes when a lot of persons are leaving the company and you have so many redundant spaces that are not being used. But when a space becomes too small is when you employ more people, and then the people you employ in don't have enough space, or it becomes choky for them to use. That's when the space becomes too small for its purpose. Also, you need to ask yourself the following questions. Is it possible to renegotiate your current lease in terms of pricing or other agreements? Is it possible to renegotiate your current lease in terms of pricing or other agreements? Normally, when you take a property, we expect that there's a lease agreement that normally will come, especially for an office space or for a commercial space. And that lease agreement, as an FM, you're supposed to be the person to manage the lease agreement and know exactly what is happening. But most of the times, the HR and admin carries this function. But however, they do not know exactly how to manage it, because it is really an FM function, because the FM understands better the spaces and knows what they need to do or what is required for the spaces. You need to know exactly what is in the lease agreement. Normally, what we always advise that you should have in your lease agreement is to have a sub-lease agreement to make it possible that when the space becomes too large for you, you'll be able to sublease part of the space to other persons. You'll be able to sublease part of the space to other persons. Also, you may also be able to ask yourself the question: is the space still meeting the business needs?
Sorry, sir. Please, hello, sorry. Can the slide be a bit bigger? Because I can barely see the slides.
Okay, I'll try and do that, but I expect that each and every one of us are supposed to have our own slides sent to us. While I try to work on that, please, you can also use your own slide that you have and be going through to make it more participatory. Let me see what I can do on that presentation arrangement to see how that aligns out. We have so many distractions in this class today, and it's not always the best. So let's just continue. If I can do that, I'll just do that while we continue, because I'm not seeing that because I'm already presenting, so it's making it a little difficult. Please just pull out your own slides from your lecture notes that have been sent to you on the which you have downloaded. Just walk through with us for this class for today. Probably during the time of break, I will do that adjustment, but let's just continue. The final question that you ask yourself: does the location befit the business needs? As businesses grow, location has a way of affecting the business itself. So you need to ask yourself the question: does this location that we are using, does this still play that role of being ideal for the business at the point in time? Module 2, we go to the need for space planning. Now, need for space planning. We shall be considering this under the following subheadings. We'll look at registration and standard, we'll look at churn rate, look at space utilization, and I'll look at accommodation standards. Yeah. For registrations and standard, there are some minimal requirements standard that you are supposed to have. You look at the minimum amount of space to be provided per staff member. For space planners, they know how to work around that space and know exactly what is required for each staff member for the floors and the floor area it covers. You also look at the fire safety arrangement. What fire safety arrangement does the building have, and how do you manage it? Do you have the sprinkler systems when there is a fire so that it automatically comes on to put out the fire? Do you have the smoke detectors, which are the fire detecting equipment that detects fire within each space? Do you have your fire extinguishers at different levels of building that helps to fight fire once there's fire, so that you can just attend to the fire quickly? So you need to also look at the general rules for fire safety. Your mustard points, do you have indicated exit points or exit area? Do you have directional signs and all that within the building? You also need to look at the lighting levels. Are the lights adequate enough for each spaces? How do you manage the distribution of lights? You also look at the signages. Are the signages legible enough for everybody to see that indicates each spaces within the building and the directional areas of where they need to go? Look at the ventilation. How ventilated are each spaces? Are they choky? Are they pokey? You also look at the thermal control. You need to have for the ventilation, you have either natural ventilation or artificial ventilation. However ventilation you are doing, you must ensure that each spaces are well ventilated so that they are not they don't begin to choke and they don't become it doesn't affect the people that will be in those spaces. You look at the ventilation, the thermal control to be sure that the spaces are properly cooled, are not hot, they're not overcooled, and they're not overhot. They're just not they're just good enough to maintain just a very cool atmosphere for people to work. You also look at the welfare arrangements, looking at the toileting arrangements, the vending in terms of kitchenettes and canteen provision for these spaces. Going to churn rate. Churn rate in many organizations, office layout are subject in offices frequently. The process is referred to as churn rate. And this churn, it is expressed as a percentage of staff move during a year, how staff movement is affected or happens within the year, a measure of the number of staff moving out of the company, of a company over a specific period of time. It is one of two primary factors that determine the steady state level of staff in an organization, or rather that the organization can support the amount of staff that cut ties with the company during a given period of time. It simply implies that the staff has churned. When you have staffs that leave the organization over a period of time, you do the calculation. We normally do that within a year period and distribute that. Once that happens, you are sure that you are covered when you know that data, because data is very key for you as a facility manager to be able to manage your space. You need to have enough data. We are working with the admin to know staffs that are coming in and staff that are going out. Normally, for churn, you have vertical and horizontal churn. Vertical churn is when you have people moving up the ladder within the organization very quickly. The organizations that have people moving quickly, the people are promoted quickly. They go up the ladder of the organization. And that also can affect the way the building, or rather your offices, are arranged. When you quickly have people changing offices, they change status in offices. They grow through the organogram, and you need to start creating offices for them because of their new level. While the other one is horizontal churn. Horizontal churn is when they cut ties with the company, when they leave the company. So for you as the facility manager, you need to take note of these things to know the people and how people move. When people move out of a particular company, you know that you are going to have over a period of time. If the people that are going out are more than the people that are coming in, it means that over a period of time, the space will become too big. But if you have people that are going out are less than people that are coming in, you have more people coming in. It means that over a period of time, you will have the space getting smaller for the organization to use. For space utilization is a measure of whether and how a space is being used. A space normally, you need to probably utilize the space, and you need to know what exactly and how exactly that space is to be utilized. Utilization is when you use the space very well, is how well you use that space. Do employees, do they have enough space for productivity during the work, or the right space for them to do what they need to do? Do this space, the workspace utilization is all about function.
The truth of the matter is, if we leave that guy there, we are not just arresting him.
Wait,
we are
Tosin Dada, please, you need to
defend the
Tosin Dada, please mute your mic, please. Thank you. Like I was saying, the specialization is very important for you as a facility manager. You need to know how to manage the space and know what exactly how to calculate that from time to time. Where if a space is supposed to take about 80 persons and the space is taking up about 20 persons, that space is not properly utilized. When you are looking at the utilization rate of the space as the frequency of the rate of occupancy, is when a space is supposed to sit 80 persons, and throughout maybe for the past 1 month or 2 or 3 months, the space has only sat like 40 persons. That means the utilization rate of that space is for each time it has not been able to achieve its maximum. So that space is being underutilized. And then you also look at when the space is being overutilized, when the space is not working very well. The frequency rate measures the proportion of the time staff use the space compared to its availability. When you have a space that is available and the space, like say a meeting room in an office, and the space itself is not properly being used, you use the space once in 2 weeks, once in 3 weeks, that means that space is quite redundant and is not functioning the way it should function. That means you need to probably have that space to do better things within the given area that the space needs to be used. You need to know exactly what the frequency rate and the utilization rate of each of the spaces. The occupancy rate measures how the space is, how full the space is compared to its capacity. Like I mentioned, you need to know if the space is supposed to take 100 persons and the space is just sitting 60 persons, you know that the space is not being fully occupied, is not fully being utilized. So utilization rate can be assessed in terms of both the actual use and the predicted use. How the space is being used presently, and then how the space will probably be used in the future, whether it is just meeting room spaces or redundant spaces, storage spaces, or generally referring to probably the general work areas and how you interact with those work areas. Accommodation standards. Organizations often have a policy on the minimum standard of accommodation for each staff grade. That is when each staff grade has its own accommodation, its own space allocated to each level. On your organogram, you have probably entry-level staffs, you have mid-level staffs, you have managerial staffs, you have senior manager cadre, you have assistant manager cadre, you have general managers cadre, you have assistant general managers, you have the executive managers, and then you have the MD or thereabout. But each cadre of spaces have its own space that is allocated to them. Administration staffs may work in open plan offices. Managers may have individual office spaces. So this is where you have it decides on depending on the size of the seniority basis. For most offices, this is what is being practiced. For general workers, you have the work on the open office pool, and then as you go up the ladder, you begin to get personalized spaces where you have managers having their own enclosures or enclosed offices. The sizes now vary from the cadre of the manager. Business needs. Office layout design should be able to provide an environment suitable for the business needs of the organization.
I'm tired of these people.
For
You don't know the name of
example,
your facility manager. That lady.
For example, cost centers undertake their business on screen. If you have ever been able to go to cyber cafes, those days where we had cyber cafes, you see those kind of furniture that you have there. That's the kind of spaces that call centers use, because they do their work more on the screen. So they just need a space and a laptop where they can work, receive call, and attend to customers as they call, requiring a small desk areas per staff, minimal document storage, and then may have limited requirement for photocopying facilities and printing facility. That's for call centers. While for in contrast, where you have companies handling a lot of paper-based documentation, they require large desks for the staffs, and then the storage for records, archive facility, then photocopying and printing facility normally should be close by for offices that do a lot of paperwork, for offices like for for chambers for baristas. They have a lot of paperwork that they need to do and a lot of filing. For accounting department, for admin department, they do a lot of paperwork. They like to have a lot of physical files. Auditing firms also, they do a lot of paperwork as evidence. They keep receipts and prints out of whatever financial transactions that are done for them to use for their work. So depending on the kind of work that you do determines how the spaces are normally configured. Why are we going through this? Is for you to understand how the owners of the spaces interact with the spaces they use. Then for staff welfare facilities, we look at the office requires access to basic welfare facilities in an office, such as toilets and drinking water. Toilet and drinking water is very important in working spaces, but sometimes these are two things that normally we normally forget, that we need to drink water and probably we need to use the toilet. Let's give this example when we're taking this class that I see somebody has a question, Tobechuku or thereabout. Please just hold on. We'll take your question later so that we don't break the flow of the class. We'll take your question later. Thank you. Like I was saying, I usually give an example here that when you are traveling on the road, and if you have ever, if you know, if you take luxurious buses, some of them used to have, they have toilet facilities at the back of the buses. Or if you are taking an aircraft always have a toilet attached to it. But if you're using the other 14-seater buses, don't have toilets. So if peradventure you are traveling and you feel like easing yourself on the express, you know, you always scream at the driver to look for a place to park for you to come down and use the toilet or to ease yourself. That's to let you know how important toilet facilities can always be. Is for somewhere that you have people gathering, you need to always make that consideration and that provision for them to be able to ease themselves. And also water is very important in an office facility. Also, consideration may also be given for vending and catering. That's when you make provision for snacking, having snacks within the office space to buy. That's when you have a vending machine. And then catering facilities where people can go and eat. You have the canteen either. You operate a dry canteen or a wet canteen. The dry canteen is when the caterers bring the food in, or you just provide the space for canteen where people can go and eat, so that when they bring their food from home, they have somewhere they can eat. And also, you need to make a place where staff can make a quick drink and take a break from their desks. We normally call that area the tea room or the tea spaces, where you can just quickly make a tea within your office, and then you go back to continue your work, take a sip, and you go back and continue your work. Services to be provided generally in office spaces. Each desk is in an office may require a phone and a computer. This is almost a given. Every office workspace should normally required to have a phone and a computer. So we have gone past the time where you just need a typewriter. You require a computer, either a laptop or a desktop computer, Also, in large office spaces, you need to make provision for power data cables, which may be run under a raised floor for decks. And another alternative is for in smaller offices is to use the dado trunking around the wall so that you can make connections from the wall, or you can use alternative power poles that drops from the top down. This normally will assist space planning of decks that are away from the perimeter. Once you have decks at the center of the space, you use power pole to do that connection. Normally you have these days there are less requirements for so much PC phones, IP phones rather. We use more of our cell phones these days for interaction. But however, more organized offices still have the desktop phones where they do their communication because they have seen the merit of having that. Then also even the data connection these days, we use more of a wireless data connection. But for companies that need more of their data to be secured, they use more of the LAN connection, so they use a cable connection. For office partitionings, office plan Open plan offices are often divided up into smaller offices for managers, meeting rooms, etc. The following factors should be considered and taken into account when these divisions are being made. Look at the heating stroke cooling zone and ventilation zone. Look at the lighting and light switches, emergency lights. Look at voice and data cables. Look at fire alarm and fire escape routes. Look at the noise and acoustics. For heat and cooling zone, for each office space that you create, no matter how small, you must make sure that at least the office has ventilation. And this will be referring to when you are able to make provision for each spaces for air conditioning systems, and then also adequate lighting levels, so that they will also be able to control the light within the spaces and make provision for emergency lights. Every enclosed space is expected to have its own emergency light in case they are working dark and the power goes off, so that the emergency light just comes on automatically and is able to manage. You're able to manage to see through. You have enough visibility to see through the office, and then you probably make provision for voice and data connection. Voice connection is for telephones, data is for your systems. Then fire alarm system, you make sure that every space have the smoke detectors, and the fire alarm when it's triggered, everybody hears. And you also make sure that each spaces that is created, enclosed office that is created, has access to the fire escape route on the aisle or wherever they are, so that they are not blocking the fire escape route, and they're able to also access it themselves, and also ensure that the spaces have its own sound insulation to be able to handle acoustics. Space planning process. Space planning process. Space planning process. We have several planning processes that we use for spaces. Normally, we always advise that you plan in advance. Finding the right new office space for your business takes time. And once a few building or spaces have been selected to consider, you will want to start the space planning process well ahead of time before you intend to move in. So you need to plan in advance. You need to plan ahead of time. And some of the steps you need to take when you are looking at getting a new space. One of them is that you interview several architects stroke space planners. You select a professional that understands your business objectives and details. A good space planner can quickly interpret how the organization operates, and also able to make suggestions to improve the efficiency and the flow within your workspace. This will translate into a design that balances company's vision and space utilization, and also department adjacents and future growth. If a good space planner will be able to understand how your organization works, and will be able to balance the way your vision of the organization interacts with the spaces, and know how the departments interact with each spaces. What you need to do is think about how your business will be using a space. Will each of the employees need a dedicated workspace? Can you utilize a more open floor? Does your business have customers visiting often? If your business have customers visiting often, it means that you need to make provision for office, for meeting areas or waiting areas for a lot of this space of the people that come to visit your office. This is 5:50. Normally we'll take a break at this time. We'll take a 10 minutes break. I'll be back by 6 p.m. to continue and finish. So I will stop here, room for growth, and then we'll continue when we resume the other half. While we are doing that, I'll try and make adjustment to the general presentation areas and see how we can have a better discussion when we resume back. I hope that's fine with everybody.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So we'll be back by 6 o'clock, 10 minutes break. Thank you. Hello, I hope you are here. Can we start? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. You can start, sir.
Okay, great. Let's just go ahead now. Room for growth. This is when you are planning for room for growth, especially when you're getting a new office. You need to look at the company's aim for every company, they aim to grow and not to remain stagnant. As job increases and new business development develops, there will be need for more spaces to house employees in every department. Um, Expansion options should be considered when negotiating. You need to be able to plan for to negotiate new environments, new for more spaces, and also to properly plan for growth. You need to be able to look before thinking. Take in account your current headcount, compare it to your future growth projections by analyzing and understanding what the maximum headcount may look like over a period of 3 to 5 years. You limit any foreseen hiccups in the future regarding your your occupancy situation. For Plan for the future employees now so that when your company does grow, you always have space to put them. That is, when you're getting a new space, you need to do some data work. Like I've mentioned earlier in this class, that as facility managers, you need to always have data available to you at every point in time so that you'll be able to plan for the future and plan for things and facilities that you need to make arrangement for. So one of the things that you need to learn to do is to project for the future and ensure that persons are taken care of when they are coming in. But there's also a small there's a small risk that's associated with planning big. There is a risk with planning big. If you are unable to meet your growth goals, you may end up with too much office spaces to be used. You may need to consider a subleasing your office in this case, or reevaluate your space planning. Be sure there is a sublease provision in your lease that addresses its potential issue. Now, like I mentioned, the sublease agreement that normally gives you the right to be able to sublease the property when you have too much space. It's something that you must learn to put in your lease agreement so that by the time you discover that your projections are not as the way they are and you're not growing the way you should grow and you have so much space, it will help you to be able to partition the space so that you can rent part of the space out to another company where you can make money from, and also help you use your space very well. Because if you have too much large space, it's waste of money, and the staffs also will be so relaxed and they will not work. And when you have too much choky and tight spaces, it will also make the staffs not to work. So you need to have the right spaces to be able to maintain staff productivity. One of the ongoing debates for a long time is whether it is better to have an open plan or closed cubicles. Whichever direction you should take should be considered. Should you consider an open office? That is, when you are looking at having an open office, it has its advantages and disadvantages. For open office, that decision strongly depends on your industry and your organization, how you work and how things are done there. What makes your team perform better is something that you need to know as a facility manager. You know exactly how the work behaviors of your organization and the people that work in your organization, do they work better when they are working together or when they are working in silos, when they are all having their own cubicles to work? Do you get better results by your team collaborating and interacting? You need to look at that. Do your employee perform better in a more focused, product-driven environment? These are things that you need to also consider as you go ahead for planning for the spaces. You need to also, there's another part of going remote. This is when you're able to manage the office spaces so that people can work from home or work from wherever they find themselves. With the growth of the cloud commuting, of course, we know a lot of persons are able to work remote now. This came upon us during the COVID period. It is a very good idea that most organizations have not been able to let go. This makes the work spaces flexible. You have you make provision for movable furniture, and then you have less staff coming to the office at every given time, except when you have a general meeting. This is very good for office that have large staff. I want to maintain small office spaces, and just the running cost for the office spaces drops tremendously. Many businesses have begun utilizing remote working plans to give their employees a bit more freedom in working from home and away from the office. If your company have a remote working policy, consider the space utilization ratio, consider the percentage of time employees spends in the office, so that you don't have too much spaces in such offices. So they can work from home or any spaces they find themselves. A good idea may be to include an area where the floor plan is flexible with movable furniture, and especially special consideration should be given to specific uses such as a large lunchroom, break rooms, and then private meeting areas. You must always see the big picture. You must keep seeing the big picture in working remotely, so that when people come, they just have somewhere they can sit, where they just have short meetings, and when they are done, they return back to where they are coming from, so that they are not always stationed in a particular area. Space allocation options. Now, one of the things that we look at is for space allocation options, one of the considerations is to have hoteling system. For a hotel, once you go to a hotel, you book for a room for a number of days that you stay. After your time is expired, either you kick yourself out or they come to kick you out after you have not paid. Where you have to book spaces per time. You book for your workspace, you book for meeting rooms to be used at this space. Some offices are already practicing this, where staffs they book for spaces they use in the office per week. They just book and say, okay, I'm going to work for the office in the office for the next 1 week. You call the admin, they log you in. When you come, your ID cards will work. If you come to the office when you have not been booked in, your ID cards will not give you access to the room, to the office, to the general offices. You can only just see the reception, greet them, and go back, or call just like a visitor, because you didn't book to come in. And then for meeting rooms are located in such a manner that you place reservations for the meeting rooms, and when at need basis, so that other people can also have the meeting rooms to be used, so that you can space it out properly, and then they have good time to be able to use the meeting rooms. There are some benefits with hoteling system. The benefits of having a hoteling system is it saves on commercial real estate costs, and then it creates opportunity for staffs to mingle and collaborate more, because most of the staffs that come in part-time, they mix with each other. They don't have the same staff in the office at the same time. You will have the opportunity to meet some other staffs in some other departments or working in some other areas that are coming to the office. Then hot desks. An office organization system which involves multiple staffs using a single physical workstation, or surface during different time periods. Hot desks is often found in workspaces with flexible schedule for employees. A primary motivation for hot desks is cost reduction through space saving, up to 30% in some very case. Valuable in cities where you have real estate prices where they are very high. Where you have hot desk operations are where you have offices that you have a lot of outstation staffs that come from time to time, and they make provision for desks where they can just work. Or offices where you have people working in shifts, where you work from probably 7 a.m. till, let's say, you work from 7 a.m. to probably like 2 p.m. and somebody takes from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. And you work in shift. You just come to the office, you do your work. When you leave, somebody else comes, takes over your desk. You work with a laptop or with the desktop, but no desks or no workstation is allocated to you directly, where you come every day. That's the workstation you work on. It is given to anybody that is available to work at any point in time. Telecommuting. This is when you have meetings virtually, like what we are doing now, having our training virtually, is where you can be in different places and then connect in, and you are able to connect into a meeting. Many telecoms as work from home, and while others use mobile connectivity technology to work from wherever they are, whether in office centers or whatever. Telecommuting is used by office employees to work while they're on vacation, or to even have meetings from different locations. If you have offices that are spread across different sub-regions, like Nigeria wants to be meeting with, you have an office in Nigeria, you have a meeting in an office in Ghana, in Zimbabwe, somewhere in Kenya, or just in Egypt, and probably want to call for a meeting at a particular time, and everybody logs into the meeting. I have a conference meeting. It's all telecommuting. It has the benefits and disadvantages. Benefits of telecommuting: it allows a worker greater freedom regarding working hours and work location. It gives employees more flexibility to balance work, personal obligation. Often, working from home can actually make you work more productive, and because you do not have to distractions of an office space, and also you do not have to spend so much time in traffic. You have time to concentrate and do the works that you need to do. Is something that people look at. Then also look at open office space, open plant space. Looking at the use of large open spaces and minimize the use of small enclosed spaces such as private spaces. They have evaluations of open spaces. Neither open nor closed spaces plan offices are perfect for all situations or for individuals. The right balance is required for having a great amount of open workspaces or open plan space, and then just scatter the few enclosed spaces. Any office design is likely to involve trade-offs for workers, which gives positives and negative impact. Advantages of having the open plan office space is: one, the openness may involve communication and collaboration amongst workers, enhance the flow of information and teamwork. It also increases collaborative results from an open plan workspace that can lead to business innovation and advancement, reduction in heat and cooling, and also electricity expenses. Also make greater provision for greater flexibility to accommodate evolving personnel needs, where you need to make a quick provision for workers. You're able to accommodate more people in the open office space. Then it comes with its own disadvantage. Sometimes open plan has its own disadvantage. Part of the disadvantage is may reduce concentration and productivity for people that require a little bit of privacy for them to be able to work. That may be a challenge. It lacks privacy in any potential, and also another potential problem with open office is that of course you lack privacy, and then you are not able to have private conversations either with clients or with people you interact with. You will need to from time to time step away from your desk to have confidential conversations as it's required. Also, open plan layout also facilitate the spread of disease, especially for diseases like airborne disease during the time of COVID. That's why a lot of persons were asked to work from home, because when somebody has COVID and comes to the office open plan, once it coughs or sneezes, it distributes COVID faster. So a lot of people will get the flu quickly, and then they come down with a lot of sickness. Businesses output also may be reduced by the high rate of absenteeism associated with open plan environments in which diseases spread more easily. And also it also raises legal or ethical issues stemming from compromised confidentiality in regards to clients and colleagues, where you have persons working on confidential cases, and then you are making discussions and people around you here, and they are not used to keeping things to themselves, and they spread things around. Breakout spaces is areas that are normally used in offices to help people work softly. A current management cushion involved, fashion involves at least partly reinventing the office, where in such environment where workers no longer have their own desks and then workspaces, you need to make a quiet area away from the hustle and bustle of the workspace, where informal meetings can hold, where you have soft sittings, where you can also receive visitors and employees can just have a quick chat. These areas are called breakout spaces. They are breakout areas. It's not on your general office pool. It's not your private office. It's just a cool area where it's just quiet. You could just step in there, have informal meetings with your staff, have informal meetings with visitors. You can host visitors there, or you can just go there and continue your work and just leave the stress of facing your hard table. You just have soft furnishing where you sit down and work. Benefits of a well-designed breakout space can serve many purposes. It provides a space for informal catch-ups and meetings, and also a bite to eat at lunch, and somewhere to greet visitors or clients when they come. Importantly, an area where staffs can relax away from their screens to also just do some informal work and continue their work. Promotes employee well-being, improves posture, and helps to relieve stress in the office environment. We now go to move management. Move management. Now, move management refers to when you are relocating from one location to another location, where normally we call our local terms here, you call it that when you are parking from one place to the other. And most of the times, this is a core facility manager's role. Is a core facility manager's role. Once your office needs to relocate, it is a core facility manager's role. So you need to be much more involved in the planning and in all that you need to do. Role of the facility manager in move management. One, in many organizations, office layouts are subject to frequent changes, like we already know. This process is referred to as churn, like we have discussed. These moves are normally planned by the facility management department. Once there's any form of move, the facility management department plans the move. The facility manager plans for the following: the minimum amount of space to be provided per staff number, the plans for the fire safety arrangement, plan for the lighting levels, plan for the ventilation and thermal control, the temperature control areas for each of the spaces that they'll be moving to. I also look at the welfare arrangements such as toilets and vending areas like we have discussed. And the reason for each move, normally the facility manager will always ask himself the question, why is the company moving, or why are we moving? One, normally it's for expansion and growth. If it's not for expansion or growth, sometimes it's for cost reduction. You want to reduce the cost of the rent, or other reduce the cost that your staff use in commuting. Two, you also look at look at consolidating offices. Where you have offices that are scattered in different areas, you want to consolidate your office into one building. Sometimes it may be due to lease renewal or lease expiration. When your lease has expired in a particular area and the landlord has said, get out of my property, you have to move to another property. And then access to new markets, where you make provision for accessing new markets. Sometimes it's very important to find out where these markets are, and that's where you are relocating to. Reorganization or better facilities, when you are looking at providing better facility for your staff. Improving your brand perception, where you position yourself where you can really show forth, where your clients or competitors see you more. Enhance employees' morale, upgrade technology, and being closer to clients and competitors. Those are a few questions that normally, few things that normally informs the reason for the move. Factors to consider when vetting of office spaces, when you are looking at a new office spaces, when you are going to look at it as a facility manager before payment is made, you need to look at the power and the cooling systems to be sure that you have adequate power supply in the building, and then the power supply is regular, so that you know that you are not going to use so much on generators. And then the cooling system is good, where it's a centralized cooling system, to be sure that that centralized cooling system is functioning properly and is able to handle the number of persons that are coming there. You also look at the electrical system to be sure that the electrical connections there are good enough to be able to handle your facility as it comes, to handle the equipment that you're bringing in. Most of the times, the electrical and the plumbing issues are very critical for you to look at, to be sure that they are in good position before you move into the office space. One of the things I always advise is that once you are getting a new office space, areas that you should go and check, especially for the electrical, you go and check the DBs. Once there have been any form of fire, it means that most often than not, you may need to rewire that building. And because you are not sure of what has been done, so it's always better to rewire the building so that you don't have a continuation of electrical fire in the building when you have moved in. Then plumbing issues, when you have seen any leakage in a building, and whatever the signs are you are seeing, if it has not been taken care of, you will know whether the building is freshly painted or not. I always advise that you run away from it, because for you as a facility manager, that will be the headache that you will be dealing with in that property till you leave. Waste disposal system, you must ensure that there are waste disposal system and routes for the PSP operators to be able to get into those areas and get out your waste. Because if you don't do it, especially in Lagos State, these guys go around and they shut down offices and they will fine you. Sufficient physical space to be sure that you have enough physical space around the building, that the building is not choking up. Communication service providers, you are sure that the communication service providers, especially the network that the majority of your colleague or the staffs use, they have good coverage in the new office space. There are some spaces, there are some areas within even Victoria Island in itself that do not have good coverage for some network, either Airtel, MTN, or Glo. So it's something that you probably may need to look out for, to be sure that these things are well taken care of. You also look at the wireless connectivity. You also look at the phone and computer cabling system to be sure that they are there. Then IP-based security systems to be sure that you have enough connectivity in terms of security cameras that are covering the spaces. Anyway, most of these things now, these days, we normally provide it. You provide it yourself for your office to have your own security control around the office spaces. Planning steps. Once you are planning for the move, there are some steps that you must take. Some of these steps are itemized as follows. One, define your reason for the move. I've talked about that. You need to know exactly why you're moving. That reason, you need to put it down so that you inform other things that needs to happen. Get a checklist. It's very important to get a checklist. We'll give you a sample of the checklist as we go down these slides. Know your key dates. Of course, you will see that when we go through the set. Set a budget. Brief your property agents. Book your office move companies, the mover companies. There are companies that are involved in office move. They are are involved with moves. Please contact them. It's very important that you have the movers come and move your items. Do not attempt to do it yourself, because that is where a lot of people have a lot of challenges. By the time you are moving things yourself, you will discover that you are not a professional in that field. There are people that are trained to do it. Just pay them and they will come and do it properly. They will take care of whatever items that they are moving. They know how to pack them. They know how to package them properly for movement. And when they are doing that, you must ensure that they have the goods in transit insurance that covers the movement of the goods, so that at the end of the day, the goods arrive in safe condition, so that if you have any incident on the way, the insurance company is able to cover for whatever losses that may arise with such movement. Plan your new office design and space plan. Plan your IT relocation. Finalize your office lease, and also plan for dilapidation or restatement. There's what we call dilapidation or restatement, which is normally part of the lease agreement. You need to look at that, especially in the new office you are going to be sure that you are able to cover for it. In a situation where you need to do the reinstatement, or you do not have the, normally they call it reinstatement cost. They just give a cost to it. If you don't have it, I always advise that as a tenant, it's better for you to tell the landlord to do it themselves. Pay them for whatever cost that it costs them to do, and especially if you have problematic clients, and let them do it themselves to save yourself from the problems and hazards that may come with it. Managing office move challenges. Allow plenty of time for planning so that you can plan well. Manage and guide staff through the office move. Play to everyone's strength. Be prepared for disruptions, because disruptions will surely come. Be prepared for it. Preparing the new location. Create a new office plan layout. This is where your move committee will be really helpful. It is always difficult to move into a new office, but when you have to figure out where everything or everyone goes, that takes a lot of time. Make sure you know where each piece of furniture will be placed, and every employee will sit. The more detailed your plan, the better. The more detailed your plan, the better, so that you don't have issues when you go to the move to the new office. Office move guideline, like we have mentioned, take time to plan efficiently. One way to make the office move efficient is to minimize the amount of time that the office move take. As much as possible, reduce the amount of time the move takes. As much as possible, we always advise that your move should take place. If it's a single office that is not very big, you should ensure that that thing is done in a day. And if it's something that if it's an office that is big, you can take it advice to do it as quick as possible, so that you don't have a lot of issues. When you do it as quick as possible, you're able to keep track of all the items that you're moving from point A to point B. To save time, ensure that you familiarize yourself with the new location, understand exactly the new rooms and format of the rooms. Make sure your old or new desks, chairs, filing cabinet, etc. will be well. Make the adequate plans, and the office move, the movers understand where everything is going to be positioned. The move will be very, very quick. The move will be very, very quick. The role of the supervisor during the office move: ensure that staffs follow the instruction during the office move. Create an office move guide. Make sure that every member staff receives that move guide. Communication is very key in this in the issue of move. You need to communicate to your staff properly, and including the staff, the landlord, the commercial movers, even the renters, or everybody is aware of every detail that you are using for that plan. They need to know and understand the detail of the office move plan, and before the event to do. It will help you and give you less headache. Responsible for their own packing of certain items before the actual move. And also, you must ensure that you make provision for cartons for all the employees to pack their stuff. Please do not pack things for anybody. Let them pack the stuff themselves. Lose items during an office move. Items inside of bookcases, shelves, decks, wall units, or cupboards should be packed securely into cartons. Filing cabinets may not need to be empty. They can just be properly locked. They may just need to be locked and securely fastened with strings or heavy packing tapes. Preparing decks of an office move. pen decks for an office move. Ensure that all the contents are packed on each desk. They are packed away into the boxes. Items such as paper clips, pencils, and all other loose materials are placed into cartons. Glass should be protected with paper or packing materials. Moving electrical machines, disconnect and dismantle computer equipment as specified. Remove all fluids from photocopiers or from printers. Make stored and labeled correctly. Next one is to give you an example of the checklist that you need to have for these checkpoints that you can use. Desk empty, click. You just tick. Supply cabinets, are they cleared? You tick. Filing cabinet cleared, tick. Drawers locked. Wall items down. Breakable items properly packed. Computer and machines disconnected. Do not move item placed. Liquid drained out of equipment. Desk pad and chairs pad labeled. Have sets of spare keys available. Make sure your internet connection is ready to go and your phones and fax machines are working. Make sure the electrical works and make sure all the bathrooms are working. Just a checklist that you need to just have. You can add more to it. Employing professional movers. There are professional movers, like I've said, that know how to do this thing. They are conscious of just how to set the logistics. They understand that. They understand furniture and the gears that they can anticipated to deal with when the changing changing a professional workplace. They know how to manage the furniture, to disconnect them, and to reassemble them in the new places. They have appropriate resources to help make the transfer secured and simple. They have the capacity to prepare the different phases of the transfer nicely ahead of time. They utilize color codes to know where precisely a specific item or furniture will be stored in the new areas. So they have some definite skills that they use for the movement of their stuff. Like I mentioned earlier on, please ensure that they have the goods in transit insurance as part of the package that they are providing for you. Key considerations for the move process. This we are looking at the date now. Key considerations for the move process. Often move office move planning. We expect that 6 weeks to the time of the move, that preparation should have been in high gear. So that's when it's just an advice for you to be able to plan that 6 weeks should be the minimum time for you to start off. You can start off before now, but it's not always advisable to start off after now. So 6 weeks before the move, meet with IT department to discuss item critical components of moving servers and then desk equipment. Assign move coordinators role to individuals within each department. As you need to schedule standing meetings, weekly meetings with the assigned move coordinators to discuss upcoming move. Schedule kickoff meeting and then advise landlord of the original and destination facility in writing when the move will be taking place. Review and clearly define all areas of responsibility so that everybody knows exactly what they are doing. By the time you're approaching the 4th week, you need to now finalize the move schedule, review the schedule and responsibilities, create employee move package instructions, prepare agenda and content for employee move orientation meetings, and then identify items of high value, discuss coverage during move with your insurance carriers. Like I've mentioned, your what's it called? Your goods in transit insurance must always be part of the package that the movers will be bringing. And then 3rd week to the move, you need to conduct employee move orientation meetings. That is, you begin to schedule visits to the new office so that they know the place and they're able to access it, distribute employees, move package, schedule carton delivery for employee to pack their personal items on to workstation. So they pack their things themselves. Like I mentioned, do not pack for anybody, let them do the packing themselves, and then schedule necessary staff to be on site during the move, establish a method of communication for more for the move, either by cell phone or by radios. Then 2 weeks prior to the move, we expect that you'd have had the cartons and the labels delivered. You probably would have defined the lost but found areas in the new office location, create emergency preparedness plan for move in terms of elevator, maintenance, building contacts, contact for IT personnel and suppliers. You need to also look at contact for telecommunicators, communications and suppliers. Those are things you need to establish 2 weeks to the time. Then on the move week itself, confirm all building reservations, conduct supervision, supervisors orientation meeting with the team. You need to complete review of labeling and items requiring special care, walk the space and check the process, confirm schedule of those who will be on site during the move, post floor plan and paste the floor plan and the office layout diagrams at individual placards on cubicles, and then you need to survey the new office facility for any existing damage at that time, so that by the time you are moving, you know exactly what is there before you move. Then the move day itself, assign move coordinators to the origin and destination site. Be prepared for to direct movers and answer questions regarding placement of items. Monitor any items going to the designated lost and found area. Complete final walkthrough with the move supervisors at the old facility to make sure that all items have been moved, fine-tune and clean up and rearrange at the end of the job. Then after the move, we expect that you manage inquiries from employees because they'll have plenty of questions, make lists of items requiring attention, and then survey for any potential property damage to the space or asset. Schedule follow-up crew for post-move activities. We trust that that should have done. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. So at this time, I'll take our questions. So if you have any questions now, you may just indicate by raising your hand, and then we'll be attending to your questions. Thank you very much. Okay, Grace, your hand is up. So let's unmute yourself and let's take your question, Madam Grace.
First of all, say thank you for taking us through this course. I have a question, and I want to ask, as an FM, because in your note you stated that okay, let me get it. Where is it? Okay, you stated that we should get professionals that understand the business that's in terms of space planning process.
Yes.
So you mentioned that we should interview several architects, space planners, or interview professionals that can help with space planning. Are we not the ones, as an FM, are we not the ones to, excuse me, please take him out. Oh yeah. Excuse me, please. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. As an FM, are we not in the position to be a good space planner, or are we not supposed to have that skill set, or do we need to employ the expertise of an architect or someone who plans space to do that? That's my question.
Okay. Thank you very much. Quickly, of course, no matter what you do as an FM, you cannot be as good as a trained space planner.
Okay.
Because they are trained for it. They know exactly how to convert each space into graphics, and then be able to manage the space properly. That's their work. once you interact with them, they will know you'll be shocked at the knowledge that they'll bring in. They'll be able to design your office space even from your company organogram. So it's something that you may have all the aces of knowing where you want things to be, but in terms of the functionality and the interaction of each spaces and how you can represent it in graphics, you may not have that skill. The architects and space planners, we have that skill. The architects that are specially trained for corporate interiors, they know how to allocate spaces to each person and know how to manipulate and do the arrangement of furnitures and then the sizing of the furnitures, and that's what they do. So it's always good to get the professionals involved. It will give you a lot of time to plan for other things. Like you would have seen in the discussion that the FM has a lot of work to do when it comes to that aspect of it. So that should not be one of your headaches, because if you take it on, that will distract you from the other things you are expected to do.
Yes, I have a follow-up question. For the knowledge sake, what is the standard space allocation for a staff?
Ideally, for international standards, a staff is supposed to cover a space of like 3 square meters.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep. Any other question?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Jamil.
Well, I must say, on a daily basis, I'm just getting impressed. Well, what actually happened is the space management, the space planning, and the move management, it's something that I've been doing year in, year out. But now, for what I just heard today, you have given me this confidence and then this mindset that anytime we want to do something like this, I have something to back it up with my line manager or with my company to say, if you are doing space planning, if you are doing move management, it's better to to consult some experts which says that, okay, this is their job, this is what they know how to do. But because over the years, if we are planning to move something from a particular location to another location, I always have this idea of, why can't you use the janitors? I didn't know, are we not paying them? Are they not our cleaners? So yes, because there has been several occasions like I'm going to give you a query. I'm telling you to use the janitors over the weekend. You can use the office assistants. And when I'm trying to like point it out, this kind of a thing, it's something that you need to get a mover, get something that is an expert to do this feed, to do this thing. You will be getting, you don't know how to manage costs for the firm. The only thing you know for the organization is to spend money. But with what I learned today, with what I heard today, I have what it takes now to to back up my explanation and then mark up my word that, okay, this is the right way to do it for us to get the right results. And seriously, I have to say thank you very much. I really appreciate this, and I enjoy it a lot, and I learned a lot of this. With your explanation, with the materials, I know if somebody has to tell me today that, okay, we need to plan office space, by looking at the space, we need to do this. I looking at the document and listening over again with what you taught today, it's a good to go. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome very well. Michael, let's hear you. Mine Kokoro.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Good evening, class. Thank you for the lecture. So I want to ask, in a situation where an FM, for example, there's a downsizing because the capacity of the office is reduced, and this FM has not been involved in the lease agreement from initial. How can this FM be able to get the document to know the content of things he can be able to remove from the office space?
So I didn't get that again. Take your question again.
Okay, I'm saying that in a situation where an FM is not involved in the lease agreement from initial, and there is a situation, there is a space management situation like downsizing, and then the FM needs to move out of some offices. So I'm asking, is there other way that this FM can get involved to know if the equipment that is able to move away from this facility? Because the reason I'm asking this, I'm in a situation whereby the landlord that owns the facility is saying that we can remove some assets from the space. So
okay. Okay, let me quickly answer your question now. Firstly, you need to lay hands on the lease agreement to know exactly what you can move and what you cannot move. Then you need to ask questions from those that were there when they moved into the facility in the first case. They are the ones that should be able to know exactly what is their company, on what is the words that is not for what is not for their company. It's very important to identify that so that you'll be able to this argument with the property owners will not arise. So if you have these things that are labeled in your company's name, then of course you will know that this is for your company, and then you'll be able to go with it. But for assets that doesn't belong to your company, of course you would have to leave it. Even if, let me give an example, if you go to the facility and you met a pumping machine, and the pumping machine got bad, and you changed it, and you are moving, you want to take that pumping machine, you can't go with the pumping machine, because when you got there, you met a pumping machine there. Except you have to look for exactly that pumping machine that was there and replace it with the exact one to ensure that it's working. So you have a functional working pumping machine there before you leave. So if you have that kind of issue, it means that asset, you cannot move with it, you can't go with it, you have to leave it there, because as at when you came in to the facility, you had a functional pumping machine. So that's just for example. But however, you need to go and get out the lease agreement from whoever has it in the admin or whatever, and then you probably be able to know exactly what items you move and what you can move. Thank you very much. Garuba, let me take a question. But before Garuba says anything,
thank you, sir.
I'm seeing somebody with a number 862692862929. Please, you need to put your name because the admin will take you out now. Put your name like everybody has done, so I will know exactly who is connected to this class. We mentioned this in the orientation time that everybody should put their full names. Please do that quickly. Thank you. I think that's Francis Chinwe, please. Thank you. Okay, great. Garuba, let's hear you. Unmute yourself.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. Thank you for this lecture. So, sir, please, under the move management section in the planning steps, on the list, you after knowing your key dates, then you set a budget before you brief your property agent. My question is that when planning a move of an office, is it proper to have an open budget instead of a defined budget? Sometimes organization might have, when they have a defined budget, they may have limited options from their agent or brokerage firm to select from. So
okay. Yes. Very quickly. Two things. One, there's nothing you do without a budget, and your budget cannot be open-ended. Whatever budget would have been created would have been premised on something. Whoever created that budget would have used some indicators to create the budget. If probably one of the things I will probably do in the courses I'm going to take, probably in project management, I think it should be in project management, is important of having proper scoping. And when you're able to scope something properly, you'll be able to budget adequately for it. If somebody is not experienced or have never done a move before, and you tell the person to give you a budget for a move, the chances are the person will under budget or the person will over budget. In most cases, the person will under budget because you most likely you will underestimate what needs to be done. It's always important to interview the movers for that process, because the movers will help you, one, to give you the cost indication of what it will take for you to move your office. And the movers is not only one person you get a minimum of 3 companies or 4 companies, and then you will know exactly what it will cost you to move the office, and then you can begin to set a budget based on that interaction. But for the general move management, it's not, that is just the actual move process that you need, that budget will work for. But for the other things that is going to work on the background, the preparation of the office spaces and all the things that needs to be done, those other we go under the renovation or the new location budget, which should be able to cover that. So you must have a budget for that, and then whatever the budget you have, by the time you begin to interview the persons that will come in, or you begin to call for bids, you will know what you can afford and how to work around that. Your budget, somehow, you can work with your budget, and you can decide to use the Awusas to do your move at a low cost and hire the vans. In fact, these days, it has become even increasingly difficult for you to move stuffs within Lagos yourself because of the agberos on the road. They will frustrate you. But the movers, they're already used to them. They know how to manage them, and they know how to interact with them. It will save you a lot of the headache. If you use the Awusas, you will know that it is cheaper for you to get the movers to come and move it, because by the time they have full Awusas, they break all the items you are giving to them to carry. They will only tell you sorry. They will not bear any risks, and they don't know the importance of the items they are moving. Whether you shout from now to tomorrow, their own is just to take it from one location, load and offload, and that's the end. So I always advise that you use professional movers. From now, you can, if you know you are into this regularly, interact with them so you'll be able to know exactly how to budget for that move once it comes. I hope I've been able to answer.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Emiko Peter, you can unmute yourself and answer your question. Emiko Peter, we can't hear you. You're not speaking, no, Mr. Emiko Peter. Okay, we can't hear him.
Or maybe you can drop his question in the chat box. Mr. Crowder, please, you can drop your question in the chat box so that the facilitator can attend to it.
Okay, while that is happening, any other question from any other person? So I can take that quickly before we call it a day. Okay, Mr. Crowder, try again. We can't hear you. I am not seeing your question on the chat. Try again and unmute yourself and try if we will hear you. Okay, if there are no other questions, if you have other questions, somebody is asking a question: why is floor space measurement necessary? Well, floor space measurement is necessary because it is the floor space that will the measurement that would let you know the amount of persons that can sit in that space. Let me give you an example. If you have like 300 staff, and like somebody asked and I answered that the requirement per staff member is minimum of 3 square meters, excluding that 3 square meters is excluding the circulation spaces and the toileting and reception spaces. So if you have like 100 staff member, and then somebody comes and give you a space of like 250 square meters, that we have a 250 square meters office space for rent, and you think that that will be sufficient to handle 300 staff, it will not be sufficient, because if a staff member takes 3 square meters, if you multiply 3 square meters by 100, that will give you 300. And it means that minimum you require 300 square meters to seat the people directly, excluding circulation. And on that 300, you need to now add a 25% to it. And adding a 25% to that will be taking you to almost 4 something, maybe 450 or thereabout, to, or 425, to be able to accommodate for circulation and all that. So the minimum space you should be looking at to sit about 100 persons will be close to like 450 square meters of space. So by the time you are going to rent a space, you already have your terms of reference defined for you to say, okay, I have 100 staff minimum, and you are looking at a projection of having probably 150 staff. You know, that will help you to know exactly the requirements that you'll be giving out to be looking for spaces. I hope I've been able to answer your question. Great. You're welcome. That should be Adora. Okay, thank you very much for your time this evening. If we don't have any other question, at this juncture, I'll say thank you for your time for attending this class this evening, and we'll say we trust that you have enjoyed yourself.
Can I ask a question now? Good evening.
Okay, thank God you're back. Oh, yeah, go ahead quickly before we run.
Okay, so the other what somebody asked a question, I can't remember the name, but he was talking about that he has learned that he should be able to push forward his ideas. So he's a company that they need to hire people. They don't have to ask him to do those things himself in order to manage costs and all of that. So I want to ask to be convinced further on that one, because one of the key competencies of IFMA, which is communication, there's a way you place the facility manager in an organization whereby the facility manager might just be someone that is, the office might just be one office that is really, really not that involved in decision making in an organization. You have a lot of superiors. All you do is just being asked to do 1 or 2 things as they deem fit, as they want it to be. So in terms of communication, I was also thought that we are supposed to handle facility in a way that our superiors, who might not be FMs certified, or maybe people who are knowledgeable in it, we have to make them appear smart in their work. We have to make them appear that they're hardworking and all that. And so in a situation where your superior just feels that you have to do some certain things yourself in order to minimize cost, there's no need bringing in an outside vendor or contracting any other person. You have to do it yourself. So do you think it's advisable for me to now tell that superior, when I know that this is the trend, this is the culture, I will now go and tell the superior that, oh, I have learned somewhere, I have learned as a facility personnel that we need to contract these things for it to be properly done. You understand? Take for instance, we are moving from where we are now to another office, and we have to move about 700 ordinary chairs alone that have not been used for the past 1 or 2 years. They are brand new. And the first question that came to me was that the first question I asked was, the people who want to go and bring to come and carry those chairs to the new place, are they not supposed to be professionals that will they will know how to arrange it and everything? They know what they need. Let them send us quote and all that. And the question I was asked straight away was, Emiko, you want to carry those chairs away from that office to another office. What do you think is the right thing for you to do? Are you not supposed to ensure that the chairs are well wrapped, and the transporter or the vehicle person you're going to get, ensure that he has a neat vehicle and stuff like that? Ensure that, because we have office assistants who help us do some of our jobs, more like what you call the cleaners in other companies, but we call them office assistants, who are supposed to be well knowledgeable in handling any of our assets to make sure they don't destroy. So basically what she wants and what she's standing on and what the organization has been standing on is, as we're making moves like this, they expect that I must know how best to move those things without them being destroyed. We don't need to contract any person. As a matter of fact, if I have to be the driver of that vehicle, to drive that vehicle, we have that truck to carry this load, I have to be the driver and carry the load and make sure that with the help of the office assistant and even the drivers, nothing is damaged and everything is well packaged. And I can tell you for sure, if I go back and say I have learned this thing here today now and then, we need to contact the expert on it, it will look as if I don't know what I'm doing. I assure you of that. So I would like to be convinced, given all this, my work experiences and the information I got from IFMA, that we are supposed to do, we are not supposed to oppose our bosses' ideas. The way they see it fit, let's work and bring out a good image out of them. So what would you advise?
Okay, Peter, our time is fast spent. You're eating into the time, and to answer this your question, two things. There's an emotional side attached to this question, which the professional side. Let me give you the professional side straight up, and that's what I've thought is that it's better to engage professional movers. And one of the things that you must learn as FM, and now I'm beginning to answer your emotional side, because now you are saying sometimes you have to be the one to drive the vehicle. You are not, the FM is not a driver. You are belittling your role as an FM. That is, you probably do not, you are, what you are doing at this time now, you are managing the fact that you are working in that organization and you do not want to offend your boss. Well, I understand that. But again, as you begin to grow in knowledge and your positioning and the way you present information to your superiors, they will come to understand that you cannot be the driver to be driving the truck that will take stuff from one place to the other. And that is because you are not, one of the issues, your license that you have, your driver's license, you are not licensed to drive a truck. And if you encounter VIO and road safety on the way, well, maybe you have been doing before, you know how you handle them anyway. But that's when you begin to understand what I'm saying. When they stop you and they ask you some questions in terms of your training, your licensing to drive a truck, you will now get to understand that next time you will not drive a truck. By the time they impound the vehicle and impound you also and send you to the court, mobile court, and then you pay fine or you are jailed for like 3 months. Next time, if somebody says you come and drive a truck from your office, you will have the right answer to give the person. That's one. Then two, the way you communicate is very important. If you communicate with data to your superiors, you have data, and it's not something that happens overnight. It's something you must learn to build up. From this course that you're running, this FM Mastercraft that you're running, one of the take-homes you are supposed to get at the end of this course is that you should have gotten enough knowledge to be able to work with the available data you have for presentation. And the things that you do, if you carry the value of the chairs that you want to transport, and then you analyze the value of the cost of that chairs, and you analyze the cost that will come from the damage of that chairs, and you also look at the analysis vis-a-vis using a professional mover to move whatever thing that you need to move from one point to the other, and how they can take responsibility for damage or theft or seizures, and you do the analysis and you bring out the risk analysis, and everybody sees it clearly and understands the value that the mover company will bring. I'm telling you, this story you are saying will change. If you're able to present it numerically and empirically with data, and they see that you are bringing so much value by bringing these guys in, my brother, I'm telling you the truth that their mindset will change. You'll be shocked that the same person that is telling you to go and drive the truck will be the same person that will advise you not to touch the truck ever again. Because of what, except they don't place a value or a premium on the property they are going to move. Then, of course, you can begin to use your office assistants, your cleaner to move the product from one point to the other. At the end of the day, when things get damaged and get missing, nobody takes responsibility. And at the end of the day, even the responsibility falls on your head as the FM personnel that didn't advise them well. And then by the time professionals come in to audit and see what happens, they will ask you the question that you already know the answer to. Why did you not employ a professional mover to do the job? And at the end of the day, you discover how you have not taken the right decision. I won't say how foolish you have become. I'll say, well, because you have not taken the right decision and standing your ground and doing the presentation that you need to do. So one of the things you need to learn, I'll take home throughout this course, is your ability to be able to gather data, utilize the data, and make adequate presentation to be able to buy your case and forward your case so that your case can be properly sold to top management and make yourself very relevant in the place of the FM where you stand. Okay, our time is up. I think that should be the final question for today.
Okay, so I think there's a question in the chat box from Ukamaka.
Okay, let me check. Good evening, sir. As an FM, you are supposed to have knowledge of the facility you are managing, correct? I don't have an idea of that square meter of the facility you are managing. Okay. First of all, if you don't have the what's it called, the square meters of the facility you are managing, you need to get it. Either you get the as-built drawings from the facility owners or the property owners, they'll give you that. And if they don't have it, you probably look for a way to take the measurement yourself and have that, because it's very important for you to have. It's one of the figures that you must always have at your beck and call as a facility manager. Thank you. I hope I've answered that question, Kamaka. Thank you very much. Barakat, is there any other thing?
That's all, sir. I think there are no questions again in the chat box. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll meet again on Friday. Peter, you wanted to say something? No.
No. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate your response.
Okay, great. Thank you. So God bless you. Have a good evening. Meet again on Friday. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Marcel.
Thank you.
Brakat, I'm still expecting to hear from you.
With this light.
Hello, Brakat.
In this light, you'll see change the light.